Thank you very much for staying with us. The ANC held its National Executive Committee meeting this past weekend, and to hear more about the outcomes, as I did mention before the break of that meeting and other pressing issues that have arisen to COVID-19, we cross live to our reporter Samkele Maseko, who is standing by with the ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule. Let's take you there live now. A very good afternoon to you, Samkele. I was actually just talking about the ANC Secretary-General just before the break, and the fact that at the moment we're getting information out of the State Capture Commission with regards to the Free State tender irregularity regarding asbestos. I know you're sitting with him, but I'm going to say it anyway. Of course, we'll remember that he, of course, the Secretary-General, had at some point been implicated in what had happened in the province in that tender irregularity. I'd really like to know his feelings this afternoon, as of course the former Free State Human Settlements Department DG Wiseman Tabani Zulu testifies this afternoon. But of course your main point today is to look into that ANC NEC meeting. But I just thought interesting that this is a side issue, of course, that's also happening at the moment. Once again, good afternoon to you.
Yes, indeed, Flo Ludwaba, there are various issues plaguing the governing party, not only nationally when it comes to the issues of the ANC deliberating and having a tussle or being in the boxing ring over the issues of the COVID-19 pandemic funds. You've got allegations of senior politicians of the ANC in the economic hub of the country, Gauteng, Dr. Bandile Masuku, the MEC of Health, the MMC of Corporate Services in the city of Johannesburg, and also Deputy Regional Secretary of the ANC in the Johannesburg region, Loyiso Masuku, as long as President Cyril Ramaphosa spokesperson Khusela Diko being embroiled in tenders of allegations of corruption and nepotism when it comes to the awarding of contracts were worth over 127 million to Royal Paca projects owned by Khusela Diko's husband, the king, non-king. Then you've got the issues of the sons of the Secretary-General of the ANC, Ace Magashule, Tsepiso and Tato in the Free State, getting 2.7 million rands worth of PPE contracts there. The ANC coming out very strongly against COVID-19 perceived corruption when it comes to those who are politically exposed getting these contracts. But I'm going to pause it there for myself and bring in the Secretary-General of the ANC, Ace Magashule, to further expand on the ANC NEC's view when it comes to the issues of corruption and allegations of nepotism of kids who are politically exposed or kids of politicians who are getting tenders when it comes to PPE contracts. Mr. Magashule?
Well, Samkele, maybe it will be unfair for me to talk about my children who are adults, who are not young, who are adults themselves, who can decide for themselves. They don't stay with me. So if I talk about them, it will look like I'm defending whatever they have actually done. We have said, let us not be diverted from dealing with the corruption which is actually happening in the COVID. Let's talk about the billions and trillions and millions of money which is actually being allegedly got by whoever, through corrupt activities and whatever you may actually want to say. So I don't want to enter the space where I have to talk about my children. I'm talking about corruption, and the position of the ANC is that we must deal with corruption. It doesn't matter who it involves. Whether it's a politician who is well-known, whether it's a businessman who's well-known, whether it's a leader of the ANC who can influence and whatever, what the organs of state, law enforcement agencies must do. And I've listened to Batoyi, the Director of Public Prosecution, saying we're not going to be influenced by the media. We are not going to be influenced by anybody. And I think that position of MPA, for as long as they can do their work without fear, without prejudice, South Africans will be happy. I will be happy if they do their work as the Director of Public Prosecution has actually said.
Mr. Magashule, did you have any influence in the getting of these contracts for your two sons in the Free State?
How that's why I say let me not talk about that, because whatever answer I provide, it actually makes you and the society thinks that I'm defending my sons or my children. So I rather not talk about. I'm just saying the law enforcement agencies, the organs which will do whatever they have to do in terms of the law and the Constitution of South Africa, let them do their work.
Mr. Magashule, it's not just only your sons that are embroiled in these PPE contracts. You've got allegations of President Cyril Ramaphosa's son, Andile, also getting a 6 million rands contract, particularly with the taxi industry, to have some sort of disinfectant in these particular taxis. You've got allegations of another senior ANC politician who's a full-time staffer here at Luthuli House, who's allegedly a shareholder or a director in Tour Rhodesia that got contracts in Tour Rhodesia, a company here in Gauteng that got contracts and was formed last year in September, and also got a PPE contract to supply the Department of Health here in Gauteng. It's not been so much dominant in the media domain, but she is a daughter of one of the senior leaders in the ANC. You've got allegations against Bandile Masuku and Loyiso Masuku, who are husband and wife, also public representatives of the African National Congress, and Kusela Tiko. Is the ANC feasting and having its hands in the cookie jar in this particular pandemic of COVID-19?
I can't talk about allegations against those individuals. I can't talk on their behalf. I can't defend them. I cannot say they are wrong, they are not wrong. I'm just saying the law enforcement agencies must do their work without fear and prejudice.
When it comes to the issues of fighting COVID-19 corruption, what is the ANC proactively going to do? I assume there are calls that a new unit like the Scorpions must be formed, particularly to speed up prosecutions and investigations in this regard. What is the proactive step in combating the stealing of these much-needed resources from the poor?
We must talk about the real stealing. We must talk about everything. We must talk about the trillions and billions which are involved in this COVID-19. People must not divert the society of South Africa. We must talk about high-level people who are involved in all these things. And you are journalists, you must just do your work. Investigative journalism, black and white. It doesn't matter who occupies what position. Talk about those, but I can't say Andile Ramaphosa is not entitled to do business. I can't talk. He's an adult. When I say he has a right to do business, you are going to say I'm defending President Ramaphosa. And that's why I don't want to enter that space. I have said, and people want to put what I've said out of context. Yesterday, when I had an interview with 403, I have said in terms of the laws of this country, in terms of the ethics, code of ethics of Parliament, and all legislatures, if you are a member of Parliament, and in Parliament there are leaders of political parties, you have to have a declaration. You sign a declaration. There is no law which is regulating those leaders outside government. Many leaders of the ANC, past and present, have done business with government whilst they were leaders of the African National Congress. I've not done business with government myself as the leader of the ANC. And today the same people are the people who are saying no, there is ethical morality here. They have done business themselves. They declared, when they were becoming ministers, they will put their interest aside. They will go and join after when they get out of Parliament. They will actually then continue with business. There are leaders as such. You know them. I don't know why they pretend as if there is legislation. If we have to draft legislation which will say, if you are a leader in South Africa, your children, your family, your relatives, everybody must not do business. I think if we adopt such a legislation, as the South African government or South African people, that legislation will affect all of us. So there is legislation, there is a code of ethics for members of parliament, and members of parliament are political leaders of various political parties.
Do you not see it as a potential conflict of interest, SG, for children of politicians to do business with the state where effectively their parents are overseeing that government?
Don't ask me that question. If it is a conflict, it means all of us South Africans and all political parties must see it as such, and we must then legislate. We must create and act a legislation about it, and all of us will be happy because we'll abide by the laws of the country, we'll abide by the Constitution of South Africa. Presently, the Constitution, if you read it verbatim, says anybody and everybody who's a South African has a right to participate in the economic activities of South Africa. I'm quoting the Constitution. I'm not quoting something which is not in the Constitution. And the supreme law of South Africa is the Constitution. I hear people making a lot of noises about this and that and that. They know the truth, that the supreme law of the country is the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. But the ANC must still stand above other political parties. And when society criticizes us, I don't want to come as an arrogant person. I want to come as a person who is guided by resolution, who is guided by the rule of law, who is guided by the Republic Constitution, who is guided by ANC positions, and we hear what the society is actually saying. But remember, society is not media. Remember, media can lie a million times and people can believe what the media says. So it is for the society to judge for themselves. But don't divert people from the millions and billions and trillions of what people have actually done.
SG, you speak of stealing broadly, not only by those who are politically connected, or let me just be frank and crude with you, those who may be linked to the state capture or alleged state capture projects in the country, the so-called radical economic transformation faction in the ANC, and those who are perceived to be in support of white monopoly capital, a pro-capital faction within the African National Congress. But SG, do kids of politicians not have an unfair advantage over other South Africans when it comes to getting government business?
Samkele, I've been in parliament. I've been in the legislature from 1994. I've been the leader of the ANC in this country after the unbanning of the ANC since 1992. I was in the executive of Nelson Mandela, president. I was in the executive of President Mbeki. I was in the executive of the National Executive Committee of the ANC under Comrade Zuma, and now under Comrade Ramaphosa. The ANC has never taken a decision which says your brother, your family, your whatever, your relative. Some of the people we share surnames with, Magashule there in Limpopo, I don't even know some of them. But I hear what society is saying. I'm just saying, if we all agree as political parties and as the ANC that there is a need to come with a legislation, let it be so that we all then say we hear what South Africans. The second thing you are going to say is that I'm going to influence any private sector where my child will actually have to go and work. Because what other people are doing and what many other leaders of the ANC are doing, they are in the boards of Nedbank, boards of this, and they are getting, is it because of their influence? Is it because of those institutions? If you are in a board of a mining company, is it because you are influential? That mining company wants to do business with government, which has been the case in South Africa. I'm saying they have a right, but that right must within the context today, must be directed, and we must also hear what the public is saying, not what the media is saying.
SG, let's move on to the issues of the ANC's Integrity Commission. There was a report that was leaked to us, the SABC, that said the Deputy Minister of Finance, David Masondo, must step aside. And there was a segment of it in an interview process they had with the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Lindiwe Sisulu, which went into expansion on the Deputy President of the African National Congress and of the country, David Mabuza, and Gwera Mantashe, the National Chair and Minister of Mineral Resources, that says the Integrity Commission never cleared the Deputy President, and they only saw this through the media, and they have no knowledge of ever clearing the Deputy President of any wrongdoing, whilst he was still the Premier and the Provincial Chairperson of the ANC in Mpumalanga. Was the ANC's Integrity Commission ever pressured by the top six or the ANC to interview these particular leaders, two of them, after they had finalized their own list?
The list of those who were supposed to go to Parliament in terms of the electoral law, for as long as we have never been found guilty by a competent court, you cannot actually say a person is guilty of anything. So the law allows these people, and this is what the electoral law, the Electoral Act of South Africa, on the basis of the law and the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Comrade Gwera Mantashe, Comrade Gwera Mantashe, Comrade Didi Mabuza, and the rest of the people never had any criminal record.
So, SG, the question is, was the Deputy President cleared by the Integrity Commission or not? The report says he was not.
The Deputy President went to Parliament because the Deputy President has never been found guilty by any court.
All right, apologies for that. We'll certainly go back to Samkele Maseko. We'll work on that feed. Obviously, just some issues there with it. But the gist of what the Secretary-General of the ANC, Ace Magashule, is saying is, being asked the question by Samkele, asked that, did you have any influence in tenders, tender irregularities, and in terms of tenders received by your sons? And of course, he was saying that, they are children of politicians, in fact, do have a right to do business with the ANC. We're hoping to get an analyst after this conversation just to talk on that. Of course, Ace Magashule also refusing to comment on whether or not Cyril's son got tenders irregularly too. But of course, that conversation does continue. Let's hope that our signal at this point is up and running properly again. Let's go back to you, Samkele, to continue. All right, we're going to take a short break, then go back to Samkele. Stay with us, please.